Well, Jim, clearly not the result you were hoping for today, but I thought in the first half you actually seemed to be playing okay. Well, what went wrong today?
Well, like I said, it's difficult to explain what went wrong without naming names. But if people don't mark properly and then end up forcing to give away a penalty, and then the mentality changes. The first goal was always going to be critical, and I was really disappointed with Frank in the way that he defended, the way that he fouled. And then, like I said, after that, they seemed to grow in confidence and have a lot of spark. They were dead ruthless. We were attempting to play, but without any real conviction in terms of breaking their back four. And all that circulating the ball wasn't good enough for me. And eventually we get people getting caught on the ball and breaking. And they punished us time and time again. It reminded me when we played Woking in the FA Cup. They were very clinical and they just used their power and pace on the break. And it's just so unfortunate because we're all going to look at the back four, we're all going to look at the keeper, but the hold-up play, the possession up front, they're giving the ball away cheaply, giving away fouls. It's just, it's time for us to make some changes.
It's a penalty and two own goals, obviously, that were really costly in the first half. But, I mean, the stats are weird because the stats show you had more attempts on goal and way more corners than Torquay today, but I'm sure that's no consolation to you.
Well, Gary Johnson, after the Eastleigh game, was talking about his stats and about the amount of chances they had and how many Eastleigh had. But Eastleigh's chances, when I looked at the highlights, were they got in behind the opposition and asked those questions in real, very finishable opportunities. It's all right us having pot shots from here and block shots. Okay, we Connor's come on, he's had a good chance and gets a deflection goal. Stats, possession doesn't count for anything. Stats don't count for anything. And this is why I was saying in my programme notes that we're a team now with 5 defeats in a row, and prior to that we were a team with 5 wins out of 6. And the bottom line is that we took our chances. Yeah. We scored more goals than the opposition. And their managers were lamenting the fact that, smash and grab, that they took their chances, we didn't, and we should have got something out of the game, etc., etc. I don't think we can turn around now. Solihull Moors, there's a game changer, but in the last 5 games, I don't think we can really turn around and say that we deserved anything out of the game. And that's not down to the chances created, that's just down to the mentality and the presence of our front players to get us up the pitch, create opportunities, take the pressure off the back four. So I'm going to have to, it's got to be a long, hard week's work for me. I think we have to look at the shape, we have to look at the personnel we're playing. The big challenge for us coming into this season was always going to be whether there was any more growth in our team. And it was always going to be very hard for me to ask any more of the likes of Ben and Ash and Keno and Paul and Sam and Adam Thomas and people like that. But I expected the Dans, the Elliots, the Connors, the Franks and the Niles. There's where the growth is. Potentially might be some growth from Festus or the younger players that come in. But I'm looking at those players and thinking they're actually some of them are going backwards. And I think that if it was any other club, they wouldn't be in the National League. And so for me, it's really about now just being ruthless and saying, if you didn't play a big part last year and you're not playing a big part and you're going backwards, then why would I go forward with people? And I think now it's time for us. We've allowed some of them to stay in the camp and trusting that they're going to improve and grow. And if they're not, and if they're going backwards, then it's time for them to move on. And for us now to really, if a new manager come in, they would be the first players that would be gone. And he'd be bringing in players to replace them. So that work continues for me because I've got to have the same mentality. You were part of last year's team, you did well, you got the odd goal, but now what you're doing in terms of giving something to this team to make us achieve results and get performances that look like we're going to win games or get points is not good enough, and therefore I have to move them on.
Yeah, you mentioned there the need to reinvigorate your squad. The fans will want me to ask, is the budget available for you to do that? Can you improve the squad with the resources at your disposal?
Yeah, the budget's always been there. I think there's going to be a lot of talk about that. I mean, we do as a club have to take stock about where we're at whether we were prepared for this. I talked about this before, about being prepared for promotion. Otherwise, promotion will be wasted, because if we're not prepared for improving the structures, improving the personnel, and moving forward, then promotion will be wasted. It's the same with Altrincham, Guiseley, Chester, and all these other teams that have gone up and come straight back down. And at least we wanted to have a plan to try and move towards full time, and we made big steps towards that. Whereas other clubs like perhaps Chorley and other clubs in the past haven't, and therefore you only resign yourself to that destiny of becoming the part-time side that gets relegated, and you're back here, and then because you've sacked your manager and got rid of your best players, you're suddenly in free fall back to the Everstick League. I think we know we need to change the structures, and the structures we had, we felt were going to be competitive. The budget's there, and I think that you can see the fact that we've invested in the likes of Joe and Adam, and I think anybody would, at the start of the season, they thought, well, they would be in our team. Wow, that'd be great. I think the issue for us is there's other areas where we need similar quality before we can say that we're going to get. There's no point having quality in certain areas and growth in certain areas where you find other areas. I've been working really hard on 2 deals. I mean, the Joe Leasley one was 3 or 4 weeks. Adam Hamill deal was 3 or 4 weeks. And I've been working really hard on other deals because I'm no fool. I can see what's happening. I can see who's not got what we need to get the result. I can see the bits they're missing from the game. I've worked in training. I've seen no improvement, so therefore there's no point me coaching them. It's now about replacing some of them. I do have to find a shape that makes us it work. We had a situation, you know, it might have been about 2 years ago now, 18 months ago, where we got beaten by Southport 3-0. We got beaten then by Harrogate midweek 4-1. And I'm thinking, wow, if I don't correct this, I'm under pressure. And we used the same players in a different shape. When we beat York 2-1, we beat FC United 1-0, and we were back on track. And I think everybody wants us to play a front 4-2-3-1, get 4 players interconnecting, but sometimes less is more. Second half we played 2 with 1 behind, and we got more opportunities and looked safer at the back. So I think for myself, I've got to really look at that, because I'm playing a shape that's making us vulnerable when we open up, and they're able to get 2v2, 1v1. You give the ball away in the midfield like Joe did today, and allow 2 pacey lads who can cause you problems to get in then. And that's the real issue. I need safe front players. I need a safe shape if I haven't got safe front players. I know what's wrong, and I need. I've experienced them back in 18 months back in the old days of having to. I think the team that got promoted, I think, or one that we had 5 home defeats in a row, and you're thinking, well, how am I going to correct this? And it just is going to be hard work, taking those out that are not good enough and replacing with the best ones we can. And the issue isn't the budget. You know, if anything, the fans maybe need to look at me and say, well, did I give too much confidence? Not in the Ashes and the Bens, but the Franks, the Niles, the Connors, and those people. And are they really going to be players that are going to grow and turn into National League players? I can think you can see why I've given Festus a contract, and they've got the potential, but the others, I think in some regards have probably just shown what they've always shown and ain't going to be good enough. And so those 2 or 3 areas is where we've got to find the quality, and hopefully we've started that process. A lot of work on the training ground to improve the basics that need to be done, and 1 or 2 players, the budget's there, and I'll be spending it as quickly as I can, and then moving on players that I think that are just de-energising me and taking my valuable coaching time and not producing anything.
Let's finish on a positive if we can. You and I spoke on the phone yesterday and talking about Adam Hamill, and we're both really excited about him coming to Edgeley Park. I think I said to you it's the most exciting signing I think I've seen in 10 years at Edgeley Park, and I still stand by that. And I think you saw glimpses today of he can be a very, very special player at this level, can't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, he's not dead. Like he's a good player, and he's got that quality. He needs to get fit, and I think what I don't understand from a lot of our players, how we didn't just keep getting the ball to him. I mean, we've got players who just seem so lacking in composure and just getting rid of it, trying to cross too early instead of feeding it into the people that have the craft and the quality to make something happen. And I think second half when we changed the shape and we got him into positions where he could connect and he could get in and around. Look, I think we got to. There's a bit of work to be done. I think people like him and other players will get fitter and stronger and faster for us as we train them up and they get more game time. And I think they're the type of players that won't be de-energised by the results because they'll have the mentality to make sure that we put it right next game. Really pleased with Paul and Elliot's contribution today and Festus's. But I know that we've got several other players now that I think, you know what, you're only in by default and you're only because we've given you a bit more confidence than we should have. And now it's about correcting that side of the club. And I'm determined to make sure that we work really hard in training and work really hard in the office to make sure that we keep getting the better players in and keep weeding out the ones that are not growing. And I think that, you know, we'll get through this period. It's tough for everybody at the club because we're thinking how we can go from a team that's won 5 and 6 to fighting without. And it's not just a confidence thing. It is about what we do out there and the decisions we make, how we control the ball, where we flick it, where we throw it, where we pass it. And there's too many of our own areas that we need to correct. And if they can't correct themselves, then they have to come out.
Commiserations. Thanks for your time.
Welcome.
Cheers.